Hello, dear Sojourner, and welcome to S.E.E.N Live, Voices That Spark Change. I am your host, Neidy Lozada, the founder of Soulful, Sojourners, and the creator of the Spirited Entrepreneurs Empowerment Network, or S.E.E.N. I created S.E.E.N as a space of connection and empowerment, a community where women could be fully visible, deeply supported, and powerfully aligned with their purpose. S.E.E.N was born from a conviction that when women gather, share their wisdom, and amplify one another's voices, transformation becomes not only possible but inevitable. From that vision came S.E.E.N Live, Voices That Spark Change, a speaker series designed to extend that same spirit of connection to a wider circle. This series is both a gathering and a platform, a place where women leaders, aspiring leaders, entrepreneurs, and yes, a few good men can bring forward their truths, insights, and their lived experience in service of collective growth. S.E.E.N is rooted in the principles of diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and liberation. These are not abstract ideals here. They are the foundation on which every conversation rests. Our commitment is to ensure that all women, including trans women, and every voice aligned with this mission have a space where they are welcomed, honored, and amplified. What you're about to hear is part of that unfolding. Real voices, real stories, real impact, and yes, real bloopers. Together, they remind us that leadership is not about hierarchy or perfection, not at all. It is about courage, presence, and the willingness to be seen. So without further ado, let me introduce our next speaker. Too many brilliant women hesitate at the age of their own brilliance. The hesitation is rarely about skill or passion. It comes from the quiet resistance that lives inside, the inner voice that questions, compares, and holds us back from stepping fully into visibility and leadership. In this month's S.E.E.N Live, I will share a conversation close to my heart, Befriending the Voice Within. Together, we will explore the inner critic not as an enemy to silence, but as a voice to meet, understand, and transform. Through compassion and clarity, we can learn to integrate these inner detractors as allies, creating space for confidence, presence, and wholeness. This gathering is for every woman ready to move beyond self-sabotage, reclaim her voice, and lead from a place of soulful confidence. Whether you're launching something new or expanding your leadership, this session offers a grounded framework for stepping forward with strength and authenticity. I am Neidy Lozada, transformational strategist, founder of Soulful Sojourners, and the creator of the Sojourn coaching model and the S.E.E.N method. For the first time since creating this series, I will be the featured speaker. Because the mission of S.E.E.N, the Spirited Entrepreneurs Empowerment Network, is to amplify women's voices, I chose to let others go first. Now, I step into the circle with you, bringing my own voice into the space we have built together. So without further ado, let's start the conversation. Hi, everybody. Hi again. I see familiar faces. I see new faces to the group, not to me. And I am thrilled to have you all here. Today, we're going to be talking about befriending the voice within. So Kendall, if you can advance the slide, I would really appreciate it. And true to who I am and to my structure, Nino, I know. True to who I am, I like a good PowerPoint, so please bear with me. And I'm going to say a few things before we start so that we get ourselves in the space that this place provides. Number one, this is S.E.E.N Live, Voices That Spark Change. It is a speaker series that I created as a response to the conversations that I was having with people from all over. I created S.E.E.N proper, which is the Spirited Entrepreneurs Empowerment Network, back in the year 2022, 2023, also as a response of conversations that I was having with women from all over the world. We were talking about our hopes, our dreams, our ways of being in the world, the projects that we were working on, the places that we were coming from. And all of us were over the age of 50. Many of us were over the age of 60. And we were far from thinking about retiring. We really wanted to create new things, new products, new venues, new opportunities for ourselves and from other people. And I happen to be the connector between all of these. And I'm not a great connector, by the way, that's not my jam, but I was the one having the conversations with all of them. And what came out of that is what you see here today. S.E.E.N, as I have said before, for those of you who have been here before, you know that S.E.E.N, the acronym came first because we were talking about visibility. And then I found the words Spirited Entrepreneurs Empowerment Network. And as with everything that I'm doing, S.E.E.N is seeing a change, a shift, restructuring. And I love it. So I am so grateful for each and every one of you who are showing up today, who show up every month. And I cannot wait for all of you to see what is coming. Many of the presenters for next year are already in the room, and I cannot say enough about how excited I am. And today, one more thing that I want to say before we go into the topic is that we have two men with us. I always say that I serve women and a few good men. So we have Kendall with us, who is going to be very active with us today. You know him from every single one of the projects that I do. So Kendall, can you say hi?
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
And Kendall you will hear his voice a lot today because he is in charge also of my job usually, which is to read the comments and engage with the chat box and whatnot. And then we have David, who is going to be introducing himself towards the end. He is our October presenter. So welcome both of you, and thank you for saying yes, both of you, to this space so full of women and female energy. So let me say a little bit about what will happen today. We're going to be talking about voices, our voices within. What does that mean for each and every one of us? We're going to be focusing on the inner critic, even though we are going to be naming many of those voices. And my invitation is to have a conversation, to engage. There are a couple of things that I should say. Safety first. If you feel comfortable coming on camera, remembering that this is recorded and the replay will be out there. If you feel comfortable letting your voice be heard, always remembering that this is seen, by the way. But if not, use the chat box. I invite you to start right now, letting us know where you're calling from. I know that there are people from all over today, from different places in the world and different places in the United States. So if you can let us know in the chat box where you are joining for, that would be amazing. The other thing...
I'm sorry to interrupt. My chat box is disabled. I'd love to put some comments in the chat, but it's disabled.
Oh, Kendall, can you enable the chat box? We have that every single time.
I know, it's so weird because it's enabled, but it says it's
It is enabled.
okay. Let me try again.
I did again. See if you can. Guys, see if you can make it work now.
It's working now.
Oh, so perfect. Thank you, David. We needed you. You see. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I love that. So, a couple of things that I want to say before we go in. Let's talk a little bit, and you can put it in the chat box as well. When you hear inner voices, what comes to mind? What is the first word that comes to mind? Thank you, Nino. Thank you, everybody. Insight. Okay. Grace. Parts of me, yes. The question, Nino, was what comes to mind when you hear the word, the expression inner voices? Hi, Araceli. All right. So, Kendall, can you advance the Pixar movie? Okay. Which one?
My brain stopped. I can't remember the name of it. Inside Out. I got it.
Inside Out. Inside Out. Okay.
Because there's a lot of them in here.
Yes. All right. So let's continue with this. I want to talk a little bit, and let me just phrase this for our conversation. This is a short presentation, as you know. We are not going to be able to cover every single aspect of this topic, but I invite you to come in and really start talking and really start joining in the conversation and adding your thoughts, definitely adding your thoughts. So when we are talking about inner voices, I'm going to be talking about 4 categories specifically. The first one is protective voices. Those are the voices that come our way with the intention initially to protect us. That can be the inner critic, the doubter, the perfectionist, because these are the voices that guard us from being out there to take chances at some points. And also, they are fierce about it. And I'm going to tell you a story later about the way my beautiful inner critic has shown up in the last few weeks. The other word or the other category that comes to mind is ancestral or inherited. Those are the voices of our ancestors, the voices that maybe were things that were probably never spoken out loud, but they were modeled for us. And some of those are, the dutiful daughter. My daughter fits this archetype beautifully. She's dutiful. And these are carried by tradition. They're carried by the family, the culture. They are the things that mold us in so many different ways. Some others are the provider. I can attest to that. The ones who are silent, the ones who carry the silence of the family, the secrets, those are voices that are with us all the time, and they're inherited. They come with us. Then there come the aspirational. Those are the visionaries, the voice that speaks of creativity, of possibility, and the voices that invite us to grow. And those have a positive and a negative aspect to them. Each one of them does. And then the soulful voice. This is the one that comes in quietly, steadily. They're deeply rooted in truth, or so we talk, or so we think, right? If we are talking with someone from a different perspective, a different way of being in the world, this person might have a different idea of what a soulful word or a soulful voice will be, right? So I'm reading here, the protective voice has been loud lately. Yes. So which are, for some of the other people in the room, what voices are speaking loudest to you recently? You can say it out loud. You can put it in the chat box, whatever you feel called to do. Mix of aspirational and soulful. The gaslighter. Soulful today? Which one yesterday? I'm curious to hear that. Aspirational. Yeah. Many voices trying to win power. Yeah. Trust yourself. Yes. Kendall, can you move forward? No, one back, please. Thank you. Discouraged, aspirational, soulful today, mostly aspirational. All right. So there is a mix of aspiration, soul, protection, discouraged, feeling discouraged, and all of the above. So let's start talking a little bit about the inner critic. Usually, the inner critic is that harsh voice that we hear. In my case, when I hear the inner critic, she has my mother's voice. I don't know about yours, but mine has my mother's voice. In those moments in which mom wasn't the caring, loving, tender person that she's today, she's 82, so life has made her tender. And at the same time stronger. But when I hear the inner critic, in my experience, I hear that voice. And I will tell you my story very succinctly. In the last few months, one of the first things that I did when I came up with this series was that I really wanted to make sure that other people went first. That's my job with S.E.E.N across the board. I prefer to make sure that women who are by my side, people who are working with me, people whom I am meeting, and who have something interesting to say, something to add to the conversation, go first. This is my program. This is my company. I will always be present. So their voices are usually more important than mine, in my experience and in the context of this work. But when I was putting together this particular lineup, I said, you know what, Neidy, you need to be one of those voices. You need to be part of the conversation. It is important that people hear your voice as well. And in the months that came after that decision, this has been in the books for a long time, I began hearing my inner critic come out. So yeah, you're going to be in front of the group with this accent. Oh, you're going to be in front of a camera moving forward and putting this on YouTube after gaining like 50 pounds. Awesome, girl. Oh, your jowls, baby. They are more noticeable every single day. That photo that you had up there, it looks really cool, but that's not you. That doesn't look like you. That's false advertisement. And as the list goes on, I'm going, in the interest of time, I'm going to stop. But the list goes on and on and on and on. So one of the questions that I have to ask my inner critic was, what is it that you are trying to accomplish? What is the job that you are performing right now? What are the voices? I mean, what are the messages that I am missing? And some things came very clear to me. Some of those messages was my old self, my old way of being in the world. The part of me that says visibility, really, girl? No. Coming to the forefront. Oh, look at me. My camera went off as I am talking about visibility. This is awesome. I love it. I just love it. Okay, I just saw it. I went like, what in the fucking is happening? So one of the things that came up the other day was that I was invited to a YouTube live, and I had everything prepared, all the angles, everything super cool, and then I could not enter the room if it wasn't through my phone. Completely different angle, completely different presentation, completely different everything, and all of everything that I hate showed up. So the most important job for me in that moment was to forget about me and do the work that I had been hired to do. Meaning show up, have the conversation, be present, be fully here, and tell your inner critic to just shut up for a moment. And as I was saying earlier, that inner critic, as harsh and judgmental as it can be, was trying to protect a part of me that feels vulnerable and sensitive, right? That really was telling me that I needed to show up in a certain way, because otherwise I would not be accepted. My message would not be accepted if it wasn't presented in a way that was acceptable to the rest of the world. And to that I had to say, come on, man. Come on, girl. No, let's stop here. So before I continue, share with me a little bit of how your inner critic shows up for you. In what voice? Let's share two things. And please raise your hand and so that Kendall can let you in. So what voice do you hear, and what are the messages that you hear from your inner critic? Yes, Araceli. Take bigger chances. Yes. Mirdula, go ahead.
Hi, Neidy. Thank you for
Hi.
today. Yeah, the inner critic. I love how you've listed this out, and every single bullet point that you've written there resonates with me, every single one. But today I'm going to say shapes self-perfection for me, particularly all the time. There's so much expectations of myself, and this inner critic comes out strong. And I myself made a personal discovery today as to why I made certain choices in life. And I had attributed it to, oh, I loved somebody so much. I did for myself. And then I realized, little going deeper, the more honest I looked at myself, honestly, I looked at myself. A lot of it also stemmed from this inner critic, which was really attributing to self-perfection and, Yeah, it's been an exploratory morning for me today. So just my 2 cents.
Thank you so much. And I love what you just said. It shapes self-perfection. It is that voice that left unattended will harm, but if you care about it, if you give it the space to comment, to make its point, to comment on whatever it's necessary for you to hear, something else will come up, right? So one of the things that I have discovered is that more often than not, when my inner critic or any of my voices that are showing up in a way that is not necessarily pure as I would love it to be, that is a little harsher, the message underneath is usually one about growth, about expansion, about seeking to help me see something that I haven't seen before. Maybe it's grief of the person that I thought I was going to be today, and not understanding that the person who is in front of the mirror today is shaped by every single decision, every single moment, every single idea and that I have embraced over time. Ideas of me as someone who can run a company and has the power to do so, and ideas of me that say that maybe you're not ready for the next step. And there's always something underlying. You open your mic again.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry. No,
Oh,
I'm
I thought you wanted to comment. Sorry.
yeah. No, I can though if I have time. Just very quickly, you said the magic words. I was reflecting on my whole dream early on was to become an interior designer, creating, and then I was somehow pushed into the financial world. I hated it, and but this is a little earlier in my years. And so now reflecting back, maybe, what made me choose that? Is it because I was asked to, or because there's so much else that came with it? And that was the exploration today. So yes, the image of ourselves and where we are today and why, and then all these things are they pop up, right? It's interesting to recognize what happened now with the self-awareness.
Mm-hmm. And that is not good or bad.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And I'm not saying it is what it is as someone who is letting go. It is what it is as a way of saying, thank you for your service. I really appreciate being able to see and to hear what you have to say. Now hold my beer. Give me a moment. Give me a moment to do my thing next. Thank you,
Yeah.
Myrtula. I really appreciate it. Rosie. So good to see you here, Rosie.
Thank you. It's really nice to be here. So my inner critic is generally the part of me that only has negative things to say. And generally speaking, it's who are you to offer this, or who are you to think you can talk about this, or who are you to think you've got anything to contribute. And so I've learned how to quiet that voice and make space for the other voices that have actually something more delightful to say, or have always been waiting for that voice, that critic voice, to go away so it can actually go, I have something to say too, and I really want to say it. So it's been a painful, long journey to be able to say, to realize actually that the degree to which that inner critic, the one that only has negative things to say, never has anything to offer positive, and go, okay, I'm going to put you over here and let somebody else speak a little bit. And with that, more inspiration and more interesting possibilities that I never expected. So that's my experience with those inner voices.
Thank you so much. I love that. I really love to hear that sometimes that's all we need is to say kindly and lovingly and sometimes harshly to the inner critic, move aside. And I had something that I've been thinking about for a while. When we are connecting with our inner critic or any voice, and really any voice that we cannot listen to in the moment, this is maybe the weirdest analogy that I can come up with, but I was thinking about when a child is running into traffic, you don't say, baby, oh no. You pull that child by the shirt, you bring them to safety, and then you come back to them and say, hey, and this is. And in a perfect world, we already had that conversation with the child, of course, and we made sure that we have set the boundaries and the safety, and that the child understand that running into traffic is not a good idea for them or for anybody. But sometimes that is not possible. So the same thing happens with our voices. If we do it in a way that we are conscious, we are aware, we are always on point, which is, please, nobody is in reality 100% of the time. But if we have those dialogues, if we are meditating, if we're writing, if we are having that conversation with our parts, there is a chance that we will be able to prevent the havoc that will happen if we don't. When that doesn't happen, the reality is that we have to be a little harsher and say, not now. So Kendall, can you move it? And I see some messages here. The voice is, you need to retract and be small. That's very true. So when safety becomes a cage, this is one of the things that I love to see when I was preparing to do this talk. One of the first things that came to mind is that, as I was saying, there are moments in which we need to be kept safe. Even as a child, as an adult, we are making decisions or we are venturing into areas that we might or might not know how to handle. So there is a part that is important to understand, and it is that there are voices, and these voices exist for a reason. And as I said before, they might be protective, they might be ancestral, they might be aspirational, they might be soulful, and they are not good or bad. The meaning is assigned by our experience. So one of the most important things to do is understanding that there is a difference between the voice with intention and the voice with authority. When we are allowing our inner critic in this moment to have all the authority and believe that he or she has all the power and makes the decisions for us, we are really shortchanging the part of ourselves that has the power to say, as we were saying a moment ago, yes, but not now. Please hold my beer. I'll come right back and I'll have a conversation with you. Please take a step back because this is my time to go take that photo, to be present, to have the conversation, to show up, to do whatever it is that I decided that I wanted to do. And that I thought, a part of me must have thought that I was able to, maybe one of those creative, beautiful, or aspirational voices said, yes, you can do this. So the conversation becomes between those parts. So, Kendall, can you move it again? I'm sorry. We're going fast because I want to give you all time to actually say a few things. Rosemary, you raised your hand. Please go ahead. Hi.
Hi. Oh, forgot to unmute. There's one thing I wanted to add to that, and it was something I heard today that was so profound and really hit me in the heart. And he said, I call back every piece of myself I have given away. I call back my power. I thought that was so profound because that's what we do when we listen to those inner voices. We give away a piece of ourselves and we focus on it and call back to regain our power. So I just wanted to add that to the conversation. I thought it was relevant.
Thank you so much for saying that. And that's very true. It's the part of us, that is in control. It's the that central piece, that place in our hearts, in our beings, that is actually the driver of everything that we do. The one that can open the door, and that's what we are going to be talking about now, right? The one that can open the door to befriending that voice, to having a conversation with those voices. Because we're not talking about exiling the voices that we don't like. It's the same as thinking about exiling people from our lives just because we have a different way of being in the world. And yes, there is a right and a wrong side of history, right? And there's a right and wrong place to be at any point in any conversation. But at the end of the day, what we are talking about is that those voices are not our enemies. if we learn how to have conversations with them. Thoughts about this? Please feel free to open your mics. I cannot see everybody. I said it already, and I apologize for that because we are moving. So Rosie, go ahead. Hi, Scarlett. I hadn't seen you. Hi.
So, Neidy, I just want to clarify, are you saying that there are rights and wrongs or that there are no rights and wrongs?
In this conversation, no, what I was saying is that there's a right or wrong place to be in history right now, but that's outside the scope of this conversation. But when we are talking, in my experience, and this is what I'm talking about, the reality is that what we are discussing today is having a conversation with our voices in a way that remove the shame, the blame, the idea that we are broken and that these voices need to come in to save us. Instead of that, what I'm saying is having a conversation, an adult conversation with someone is akin to having an adult conversation with our inner voices. Today, I sent a note to a friend of mine whom I love dearly, and there's something happening that is outside of my control, has nothing to do with me. And as immensely opinionated as I am, I decided to take the middle road and not say a word about either one of the parts or the sides of the story because I don't have enough information. Right? I have some information from one side, some information from the other, but I'm not leaving those in those spaces. So my job right there was to take the center space and say honestly to my friend, I might sound right now like I have a low EQ, emotional intelligence, but I feel really punished by this situation for taking the middle road and the middle ground and not taking a stance from one part or one side or the other. And I needed to say that. So imagine, and I knew, let me say this, I knew that this person could receive those words and say, thank you for telling me, let me tell you my side. So that's what I'm talking about in the conversation with ourselves as well, is standing in our power and inviting those voices to come in when it is appropriate, to understand that their message may be huge for our development, and then take a moment, take a step back and say, okay, give me a moment to process. This is not the time to have this big conversation. Let's piecemeal it before it becomes a problem, right? Because we can talk about also the other side of that, which is shutting those voices in such a way and not allowing that awareness to rise and making sure that we never consciously address the situation. And with that will come other problems that we know that may arise, behaviors or decisions that are go against the best options that we can have. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Did I answer your question? I go the panoramic route, Rosie. Don't ask one question because I will tell you the story of my life. Always and always.
I was, it's like the challenge of honoring each of those voices, whether they are negative because they've been there, believe that they've been protecting us, and then go, wait, you've been protecting me for so long. But the fact is that I'm actually a grown up now. I'm not 7 years old. You but keep treating me like I'm 7 years old. But I want you to know I'm actually much older than that. And so I'm going to ask you to just go over there and just let me be a grown up here. And so to honor that voice in a respectful way. But then there's the voices that come in that are like, oh my God, I've never heard that before. Or those voices that are our intuition or our higher self or those elements that we tend to ignore. It's like, oh, that would be something that would be a good thing for me, but no, I'm going to ignore that. So,
and sorry for interrupting you, Rosie.
It's okay. And so my point is just that there's the learning to grow and listen and honor each of those voices and go, I hear you, thank you, and no, or I hear you, thank you, and yes, or like you're saying, and or I have to take the middle ground because I don't know yet.
And discerning, because the voices that speak on our behalf are usually tender. or at least a little more graceful than the ones that are used to harming us and you know, in the way that they speak to us.
Well, generally empowering.
Yeah, yeah. Nino, thank you, Rosie. Nino.
I was just gonna say one of the things that I like to do is name the different voices. So my inner critic is named Linda. So that way when she's talking a lot, I can say, listen, Linda, like the like that TikTok video or whatever it was. It was like, listen, Linda, you need to stop. I understand you're trying to protect me, but I need you to sit down. And that helps me like differentiate. It's not my thoughts, it's just this story in my head and stuff. So.
You just reminded me of that video years and years back of a child that would say, Linda, Linda, listen, Linda, listen. Yeah.
That's where I got it.
That's where you got it.
Yep.
That's super cool. Actually, that's a really good idea. And I honestly think so. And you and I have been talking about naming our parts. Yeah, yes, Mirdua. Naming our parts, giving them names and really befriending those parts and making sure that they're part of the conversation at every point, kind of finding the middle ground. And in a conversation with someone the other day, I mentioned that when I was training staff over the years, one of the things I usually told them was, let's find the middle ground before your heart and your head, because you can go either way with this decision. We need to find a way to meet our demands and meet the needs of your clients. And those conversations happen over and over again. And this is the same conversation that I invite myself at times, and I invite other people to have with those places and those aspects of their lives. So one thing I wanted to say, if I see that there are comments, Kendall, I cannot see them now. Can you read some of them? I cannot see them.
Margilla just says he thought of the same kid, and then Rosemary said,
okay.
I love that, you know.
Oh, perfect. So one of the things that I wanted to mention before we move into the next one is that befriending really begins with an invitation, and that's part of what we're talking about, is letting that voice or letting that part of ourselves come into play, but only when they are invited, and training those parts of ourselves to wait for an invitation. So Kendall, if you can move forward, I would appreciate it. So let's talk a little bit about taking their seat at the table and inviting these voices to sit at our table. And one of the most important things that I want to say is that it is our table. And our voices are welcomed by invitation only. Once we have developed that space in ourselves to really befriend them and really give them some space and really seeking to understand what they want to share with us. Because more often than not, even if the information that is coming our way seems negative, it is information that we need to listen to. As I was saying, sometimes we are talking about letting grief find expression, and maybe the way that grief is finding expression is by criticizing the way you look today. That was my experience, grieving that part of me that needed to die, grieving that part of me that needed to be really honored because it had served a purpose, and now we are in a different place, a different body, a different way of being in the world, a different understanding of life. And how cool is that we can have those conversations? But for that, we need to really open the door ourselves. If not, you will have one of these voices breaking that door and opening it when you least expect it. So if we move forward, Kendall, I'd appreciate it. And this is where I would love to hear thoughts from everybody in the room, be that through the chat box, be that through conversation. Let's set some rules. And I love rules. I'm a rules person, by the way. In fact, when my kids were teenagers, I found a sign that I still have. I bought it in Puerto Rico and it goes everywhere with me. it has a maid, the figure of a maid, and it has a button, like a shirt button, and it says, press button for service. If no answer, do it yourself. And every time someone comes to my house, I take them to that sign first. Here, you have everything that you need. Just don't ask me for things. Just do it yourself whenever you can. So let's talk a little bit about the rules of engaging and allowing our voices to sit at our table. The first one is to understand that this is your table. This is my table, my house, my rules. And I sit at the head of the table. When I was creating Soulful Sojourners and S.E.E.N specifically, some of you have heard me say that I knew what my chair was. I knew my chair. I chose my chair first, and then I began building the table. But I always remember that even though I am giving a seat at the table, at my company's table, to so many different people, I remain at the head of my table. And the same happens with my voices. I'm learning more and more and more to invite those voices to have a conversation, to come in and to choose a seat that is good enough for them, remembering always that I set the boundaries. And that's the next rule. I am the person in charge of setting boundaries for everybody in my life, but first for myself. So boundaries are for me first, and then for my voices, then for my family, then for people that come around me. Then we talked about this already, controlling the timing. Hold my beer, not now. Let me pull you back in first. Let me bring you back to safety, and then we can have a conversation. We are not saying, and in this case, we're talking about a healthier approach to these conversations, right? And people who are more aware. These are people, and we are people who can say, give me a moment. I hear you. I still have to be present to my life. I will definitely have a conversation with you about how I looked that day, but really my job now is to show up and to do my best. And as Don Miguel Ruiz says, my best is going to change from time to time, from day to day, from situation to situation. And our inner voices must hear that. Then discern the message. Every voice has intent, but not all of them tell the truth. They don't hold the truth necessarily. They all intend something, more often than not, to protect us. And at the same time, they don't hold the truth. Maybe as we have been talking, and as I said about the example I mentioned earlier, I have bits and pieces, but I don't have the whole truth about exactly what is happening. So I have to be discerning in accepting those messages and in accepting what I believe is true, and then doing my due diligence, of course, and moving forward. And then my favorite really is anchor in the soul. Your voice steadies the conversation, but it must be anchored in soul. So what does this mean for all of you? And really, please feel free to open the mic and show. If you raise your virtual hand, I will be able to see you immediately. So share some of the rules that you have for your voices, if you have any, or some of the rules that you would love to set in place for your voices. Go ahead, Nino.
One of the things that I have that just helps me discern is that saying, I think I told you in one of our last sessions, is the intuition speaks in statements, but our fears speak in questions, or our insecurities speak in questions, or whatever. So, to discern whether it's a soulful voice or whether it's a protective voice that's speaking, listen to what's being said. Is it a question, or is it a statement? Because that can kind of help you navigate. And so I've been thinking about that a lot lately.
Yes. So when you are in those conversations with those parts of you and you hear the question or you hear the statement, what is your first impulse? If you can name it. You don't have to answer here. You can answer in the chat, or we can talk later, but that's a question that came up.
Yeah, I ask my guides. That's my default because this world is very confusing and overwhelming. So I refer to my guides and just be like, hey, spirit guides, feeling this way. Is that on point? Like, okay. And then they validate my intuition, 98% of the time. And then I'm like, okay, cool. I'll go this way, feeling scared. I will brave boldly.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I have a comment here. Kendall, go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I think that oftentimes it starts with feelings and just feeling emotionally, and so I have to take time to examine myself and be like, what's actually going on here? Like, what are they saying behind these emotions? Because it doesn't show up automatically as words for me. So I think it's about like first establishing kind of like routines like, oh, hey, I'm going to journal, or I'm going to set time aside to meditate, or just different things like that to get me to like slow down to go inwards, because it can even be happening without me being aware. And then having practices different things. Sometimes it's journaling it out, like what are my thoughts and how do I interact with this, or do I need to just sit in meditation, just like feel this? Or, can I be like, hey, right now I'm busy and I have stuff to do, but later on I'll address you. So, because I think it's like if you don't dialogue with it, then it's likely to sabotage and like take a hold and then do things in an unhealthy way. And so, yeah, a big thing for me is just like recognition of what's going on, and then learning what's the words behind the emotions, the sensations.
Before the sabotage, right?
Yeah.
Thank you. I love that. Araceli, so good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you too. Hi, everyone. The thing that keeps coming to my mind as I think about this is that I react to the word rules, but I really like thinking of it as boundaries for me. And I guess maybe it's the reason I became a child development specialist in my early career. But I think of those inner voices oftentimes needing someone to be the adult, someone to reassure that you're in charge, and that calms those voices. Just that assurance of, okay, I hear you, and this is what we're going to do about that. Just acknowledging the voice, but also recognizing that what their intent or their fear that's coming up, being expressed, it is being handled by someone who's capable, my present self. So the piece of as any child that we've all dealt with, if they're not feeling heard or if they're feeling like they're being dismissed, the behavior will escalate, right? The negative behavior, in order to get the attention that they're craving. And so I'm just making that connection, more verbalizing it, because how I tend to deal with my inner voices. Setting that.
And the matter of compassion as well. Being compassionate. I would like to think about my inner voices as fully formed adults. Seriously, so I'm not being facetious. Fully formed adults with whom I can actually have a conversation, but more often than not, those voices are calling not only for attention, but for compassion. If that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Scarlett, my friend, hi. Thank you, Araceli.
Hello, I'm excited to be here. And I love this conversation too, because this is something that I think a lot about and also teach to my clients as well. But hearing you talk, it really reminds me of my journey as a business owner and an entrepreneur, because I think it's one thing. I did a lot of work on my own self-confidence for many years, but then to become an entrepreneur and a coach and share, like, to position myself as a leader and to support other people and then also accept money in that process has, like, then all of that just brought up a whole nother layer of gunk and selves under the surface that had a bunch of concerns and fears around it. So this definitely like reminds me of the entrepreneurship journey for sure.
Definitely so. And I love that you brought that up. I seriously do, because the truth of the matter is that many of us, and there are many coaches in this room as well, had to negotiate that moment in which we had to say, oh, wait, I do have the expertise, I have the education, I have the life experience, I have been exposed to so many different environments where everything I have done has brought me to this moment in time in which I can charge for the work and for the knowledge and for everything single thing that I can offer a client. And more often than not, and this is where S.E.E.N as the Spirited Entrepreneurs Empowerment Network comes in, is precisely understanding that those inner voices that are saying, you're not good enough, you don't know enough, you don't deserve to be paid $350 per hour. Where and what in the world, woman? Who do you think you are voices that, going back to compassion and going back to that connection and that sitting at the table, must be invited to understand that, yes, and yes, it is true that I have some fears. Yes, it is true that I have done 100 different things in life that don't seem to be in accordance or in agreement with this venture that I have in front of me, this new business or whatever it is. However, the sum of all parts is what makes it valid, what makes my time so precious that I can charge a certain amount of money for it. It comes with everything. It comes with everything that we have been talking about as well, with the heart, with the mind, with the experience, with the body, with all of the senses. Because every time we enter a room with a client, we need to leave parts of ourselves out. And that's the coolest part and the hardest part maybe. But the parts that show up are the ones that have, hopefully, reverence for the person in front of us. And that has a price tag. For sure has a price tag, because it comes with so much more. So thank you, Scarlett, for bringing that up. So thank you, Sam. So we have about 9 minutes, and I said that I am a stickler for ending on time. We can stay past this 1:30 Pacific time, but if you want to close on time, let's go with a couple of comments from whomever feels that you have a question or a comment before we use the last few minutes to make some announcements. Not everybody at the same time, please. All right. So this is going once, going twice, going 3 times, and we move on. If something comes up for you, please feel free to raise your hand. Kendall, can you go one more? Because we already talked about this. I already invited reflections. So let's do some takeaways if it's okay with all of you. This is very similar to the first slide that you saw. What are some of the things that you're taking away when we're talking about, naming the voices, understanding the shadow side of those voices, which we didn't address in full, and there's no way that in just a few minutes we can? David, go ahead.
Yeah, I think for me, I haven't done this exercise, too many times, if ever, before, where I've questioned my inner voices. I think for me, I've just kind of learned how my personal biases may, maybe instant short-term reactions in my head that I can, kind of manage and dismiss. And so I've taught myself that as like sometimes that initial reaction isn't appropriate or, where I want to be, in any given topic. And so I thank you for, making this kind of more normalized. I think that's helpful to me to start to think of what my inner voice as someone who I can kind of critique and maybe learn from more than just take direction from, which I've been usually just running with whatever those thoughts are. And it could be my entrepreneurial spirit, my desires for adventure, my desires for personal relationships. So that's what I'm going to take away today, is that it's okay to talk to yourself and name little parts of your internal dialogue.
Definitely so. Whatever you take away is great. And let me just say for everybody, David is our October presenter. So I'm going to take this moment, David, to invite you to say a couple of words about October as well, so we can get that out of the way.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Neidy. And I want to say hello to the group and thank you for letting me be here. I know, this is an honor, and I feel quite a responsibility to bring a relevant and useful topic next time we get together or when I'm presenting. And it will be based off of my life's work. I'm a husband, father, business founder, legacy leader, and soon to be published author. And so that's what I'd like to talk about is the 4-book series that I'm launching, and it's around establishing a family legacy, how people like us, entrepreneurs, who maybe didn't have a trust fund when we grew up or a wealth structure to support our development and our dreams, how we can establish that first off for ourselves through the work that we do every day in our businesses, but also for our partners and our dependents and other people that we want, again, to have that type of support. So it'll start with just a general discussion around, the themes of all the books, and then we'll have a couple of practical exercises, and hopefully you'll learn some things that contribute, and we'll take away from that discussion maybe a better understanding of why you're doing what you're doing and how you might kind of refine that in ways that are more purposeful when it comes to being remembered for the work that you've done and inspiring others and supporting others with your time here on Earth. So I put in the chat a link to a interview I did with Neidy last month, and I want to encourage everyone, if you can, to reach out to that podcast. It's on my YouTube channel. It's called Legacy Curious. And if anyone's interested, please reach out to me. I'd love to have you as a guest as well. I interview entrepreneurs to talk about their life's journey, share with my audience and everyone, what they hope to be remembered for and the legacy they are building. So thank you for giving me the time and the platform. Look forward to interacting with you all as soon as I can.
Thank you, David. I really appreciate it. Kendall has put the link there as well in the chat box. Anybody else before we close? Rosie, you are our January presenter. Could you say a word or two about your presentation?
Sure, thank you. So I'm Dr. Rosie Kuhn. I was a marriage and family therapist for a long time, and then went into spiritual guidance because therapy didn't actually talk about spirituality. And then I became a life coach and have been training coaches, coaching and training coaches in transformational coaching or spiritual coaching for the last 25 years. So I've been having a lot of fun doing that. I have a YouTube channel too, and I've been doing videos recently called I Want to Be a Better Coach for those of us who are like, hey, I don't know how to do this and I really don't know where to go. So anyway, I have this series called I Want to Be a Better Coach. And there's others. There's like 300 videos on that on my playlist.
And it is great.
And thank you. And in January, I'm going to be talking about what's mine to do. In a sense, we think this is what I'm supposed to be doing, or this is what I'm good at, or this is what everyone told me I was good at, or here's what my mom and dad wanted me to do, or here's what I should do. But what's really mine to do? And to look at that, not only, it basically engages what Neidy, what you're talking about here is these voices and these, you know, reaching not only for our inner critic part, but the part that's our intuitive part, our higher guides, or those parts that we may not be paying attention to, that says, hey, my work is to be the divine expression of who I am in the world. And I may be disregarding that message for lots of reasons, like I'm scared. It's a different way of seeing the world. So that's what I'm going to be talking about, and what we'll be talking about, because I love to have an engaged conversation, just because it's much more fun than me talking alone. So I'll see you guys probably next month too, but in January I'll be back.
Definitely so. And I just want to say a couple of words. Scarlett is here as well. She is our April presenter. Scarlett, I'm going to let you speak the next time about what you are going to be talking about in the interest of time. But please know that one of the things that I see over and over again in the work that I do is the beauty and the courage and the force, the immense force, and it's force for good of every single one of the people that are doing this work. One of the things I said on that live that I mentioned earlier was that my job is now showing me the beauty of the human being and the beauty of the human becoming far away from the news, far away from the left and the right. This is the beauty of who we are. And I invite every single one of you to have a conversation with your inner voice, to say hi from time to time, to treat that inner voice with compassion, with tenderness, and with the respect that is required. Same as Araceli was saying, maybe you see your parts as younger versions of yourself, or if you're someone like me, I go like, grow up, baby. You need to grow up. So all of you need to come with me and grow alongside me, because I need you to be whole and I need you to make me whole. All right. So it's 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, stickler for time. I'm going to stay a little longer, but the program ends now. I would love to hear if some of you want to say some additional words. Please stay, but I want to make sure that I respect those who need to go. Right? Perfect. So Scarlett, you're welcome.
Thanks, Neidy. That was really fun. And David, I'm going to contact you about being on your show, if that's okay.
Yay! This is the beauty of the work that we do. Thank you, everybody.
That's great. Yeah, I just want to say I put Nino's episode in there as well. So if you don't know Nino, you can get to know her a little bit more. And I would love to talk to every one of you when you're able. Thank you.
Be well, and I'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us for S.E.E.N Live, Voices That Spark Change. Again, I am Neidy Lozada, founder of Soulful, Sojourners, and the creator of S.E.E.N, the Spirited Entrepreneurs Empowerment Network. It is an honor to hold this space where women's voices and the voices of a few good men who share our values are heard, respected, and celebrated. With profound gratitude, I invite you to continue with us. We gather every third Monday of the month at 12:30 p.m. Pacific Time. Each time bringing a new conversation, a new voice, and a new spark of change. I look forward to meeting you again in our next session of S.E.E.N Live, Voices That Spark Change. Until then, be blessed, be safe, be seen.